Hey guys, now we're going to talk about type hints and typing with functions in Python. Recently, we've been learning a lot about creating functions within Python, so here's a basic function that we can create. This takes in two parameters and then outputs a value, right? And when you hover over the function, though, you see something very interesting. You can see that it tells you information about the function, the definition, and stuff like that. But if you look closely here, it says unknown for the parameters, then unknown for the return type. Because Python is a dynamically typed language where you don't explicitly have to define the type of the variables or the parameters or the return type or anything like that, your IDE does not know the proper types of these things here. The trickiness with that is that if you're trying to use a function that you've never seen before, maybe you import a library or something like that, or maybe you just have a function in your code base, but you don't remember the exact implementation of it, it can be really hard to figure out how to use the function properly based on this because you don't know what types to pass in, and also you don't know what to expect in terms of what it returns as well. So, something that you can do to improve the quality of your code within Python is add type hints to your function definitions so that it's more clear what's going on. So, for example, if we're going to be adding something, we probably want to add only ints or floats. So, let's just choose one. We'll choose ints. And what we can do is do colon int and then here colon int. And now we're explicitly saying when we're defining this function that what we expect as these two parameters here are integers, not anything else. So if you hover over the function definition now, it tells you define add int. And also what's great here is it can now tell you the proper return type because since these are expected to be integers, since we're adding them together, it knows that it will be an integer, so it's smart enough to tell you that it's going to be returning an integer as well. Pretty cool, right? But it can't always infer the return type, so something that you can do is also define the return type. So we can do an arrow, so dash and then angle bracket, and then we can do int. So now not only are we saying that the parameters are going to be integers, but the return type is going to be integer as well. So when I'm calling the add function, I know it's going to be an integer, or at least it should be. So for example, I can do sum result is equal to add, and I'll say 10 and 20. So now I know that the return type of this is an integer, so I know that this variable should contain an integer as well. Sum results, this shouldn't be any different. Let's run it, make sure. Boom, we get 30, nice. Let me just reiterate the benefits of this approach. If we do proper typing, where we add types to our parameters and our return type, we know now properly how to use the function. We know to pass in ints, and we know to expect an integer. That's very nice, right? The biggest thing is that it also helps the IDE because since I'm telling it the types that are expected, it knows now to help us out so that if we ever accidentally provide a type that's not the proper type, such as a string here, it knows to warn us. It says argument of type potato cannot be assigned a parameter a of type integer and a function add. So because this is a string, this does not match up with what it expects, so it's going to complain. However, though, this is actually technically not invalid. This is just the IDE telling you and warning you that this is improper. But if you were to run this, you will get an error, but the error is not what you think. The error is actually just because we're trying to add a string and a number, and it can't concatenate that properly. However, if we make both of them a string, and I'll just put gibberish, you can see it's complaining for both of them, right? Because it's still expecting integers. But if I run it, boom, I get the concatenated string. Even though we've explicitly told it to be integers, and that's what we expect, and also that's what we expect it to return, Python does not enforce that when you run the program. Python's just not strict in that way. So these type hints in Python are great because you can make sure that things are just higher quality code. You're not passing in the wrong thing or expecting the wrong thing, and you use the functions properly. However, they're hints, that's all they are. They're not requirements. So in other languages, other than Python, where it's not so dynamically typed, if you specify the type like that, it's going to enforce it, but in Python it does not enforce it, okay? So again, it's just a hint. It's helping you out. It's helping the IDE out to make your code quality better. But at the end of the day, you can still pass in whatever you want to your functions, and it's kind of the Wild West with Python, but this helps a lot, okay? Okay, let's move on now to some more ways that you can use type hints within Python. So if you want to, you can actually add them to the variables themselves that you work with. So if I want this to be an integer, if I want my IDE to enforce it, Python can't enforce it like I just said, but my IDE can. I can do colon and then int. Boom. So now this should be an integer. If it's not, it should warn me. Variable typing is not going to be as common as function typing, but you still get the same benefits. Functions are just much more complex in terms of how you use them and work with them, so the typing hints are more beneficial. But if you want to make it even more strict in terms of the hinting and everything like that, you can add it if you want to. Let me just give you another example of using type hints with a function. So we can make the get greeting function like we did before, except at this time we tell it to expect a string and also return a string. If for some reason you're returning a string like we're doing here, but you set the return type to float, your IDE is smart enough to warn you, so you know you did something wrong. That's a good example of why you would want to have those type hints. Now, of course, not all functions return data, so if we have greet, it takes in a string, and then we do print name, something like that. Really basic, right? This does not return anything, it just executes some code here. So if you hover over it, it actually infers the return type as none because it doesn't return anything. So if you want to, you can manually specify it as none. So if you want to sort of enforce it as being none within your IDE, you can do that with a type int. That way, if you try returning something, 12, it tells you that that doesn't make sense because the return type is none, so you can't return anything. So you either have to fix this or fix this. It just enforces better code quality and less issues. Type ints can also be used with lists. So if we make a function called double numbers, if we want to pass in a list of numbers, we can specify the type int for that by doing colon list, and then within that we can actually specify the type of the data within the list. So we learned that Python can actually support different types of data in a single list, but that's not as common. Usually you have a list of everything being the same type. So if you want to enforce that in your IDE, again, Python can enforce that, you can do int. So now you're telling it that you expect the numbers parameter to be a list of integers for this function. So now inside of here, let's figure out how we can double all the numbers of the function. We're going to do doubled list of integers. We're going to make a new list, and we're actually specifying the type here as well. And then based on the list that we pass in, we want to loop through it. So for number in numbers, for each of the numbers, we're going to do doubled dot append number times 2. So for every element in the list that we pass in, we're going to double it and then add it to the doubled list. So we have 2 lists. And then we're going to return doubled. We're passing the list that has the actual doubled numbers in it. Here's how we can invoke it. So we have our original numbers list. You can give it a type hint if you want to, but it's not required, so we can remove it no problem. We're going to pass that list of numbers into our double numbers function. It does not complain because this is indeed a list of numbers, or a list of integers to be specific. So we're going to pass it in, and then we're going to expect a list of integers back. So this, as you can see, detects it as a list of integers, which is good. And then we're just going to print the before and after, and we can compare it. Let's run it. There we go. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2, 4, 6, 8. Nice. Here's another function that we've worked with before. This is how we had it before without the type ints. So calculate rectangle. The parameters are unknown because we did not type them. It does know that we're returning a tuple though, because we're simply returning 2 things separated by a comma. That's a tuple. But the types of those 2 things are unknown. So if you want to give it typing, we can do first of all float, and then float. And then to specify the return type of a tuple, you can do our little arrow, tuple, and then the return types of the 2 options here. They don't have to be the same thing, so it can be int float or float int or string, whatever. It can be whatever you want. So in this case, they're both going to be float. So float and float. So now if we hover over it, it tells us that it expects 2 floats and then returns a tuple of 2 floats for the area and the perimeter. So now when we invoke our function, it can tell us that this is a float and that this is a float. Alright guys, there's one more type in that I want to teach you guys about, which is called optional. It's a little bit similar to the default arguments that I taught you about before. It's a little bit different though. What we can do is specify our parameters for our functions as optional, meaning that they do not have to be provided, and if they are not provided, it'll just be none. Now just like everything, it makes more sense if I just show you. So if we make a function called display name, we can take in something like a name, which is a string, and then let's say we take in a nickname as well, and then we're not going to return anything. What we want to do is make it so that if the nickname is provided, we actually use that as part of what we're going to print. So we'll say if nickname, this will check to see if it's not none. If that is the case, we're going to do print. I'm just going to say something like name, who you can also call, and then we'll say their nickname. Okay, so otherwise, we're going to say print, and we'll just say name directly. Okay, this is a very simple function. The way it works is you pass in 2 strings, name and nickname, but we want to make it so that nickname is not actually required. Right now it is, it has to be a string. So let me just show you. We'll do display name, John, and then Big J. That's his nickname. So if you run this, we get John, who you can also call Big J, right? But if we want the nickname to be optional, let's just say that we don't provide it. Our IDE is going to warn us because the second parameter needs to be a string, right? But we didn't provide a second parameter at all. So if I run this now, it's not going to work. It says the display name function is missing 1 required positional argument nickname. So because we specified the argument here, we have to provide it unless we make it optional. So to make a argument optional, for this we need to import something. I don't think I've shown you this yet. We're going to learn more about importing in the future. We're going to type from typing import optional. Importing is basically a way of bringing in code from other places. In this case, it's from Python. It's a package or a module within Python that has typing support. And one of the features it has is optional. So now that we've imported optional, we can use it in our code. So we can do, for example, if you want to make a nickname optional, all we got to do is do optional and then the type, so string. And then we also need to give it a default value of none. So what this is saying is that nickname is now optional But if you do provide it, it needs to be a string. Otherwise, if it's not provided, it'll be none by default. So now this if statement actually works properly. This will check to see if nickname is not none, then we're going to run this piece of code. If it is none, then we're going to run this piece of code. You can also see now here the code when we invoke the function is not completing anymore because we made it optional. So if we run this, we just get the name John. And then if we change this back to Big John, it's still not going to complain because we did provide a string which is valid. So if we run this, boom, we get John, who you can also call Big John. So when we made this parameter optional, we also gave it a default value of none, meaning that if it's not provided, because it's optional, it's just going to be none. And then because of that, we need to check to see if it's not none before we do anything with it. That's common practice, so you don't get an exception. Now, it doesn't have to be none, though. You can make it whatever you want. So I could give it a default value, a default nickname, essentially. We'll call it Daddy. So if nickname is not provided, because it's optional, it'll just be Daddy. So if I get rid of this, let's run it. There we get John, who you can also call Daddy. There you go. It's not as common to see that, but you can do that if you want to. So usually it's just going to be none. There we go. Also, usually you have these imports at the top of the file. So let's go up here and paste it. There we go. Something else that's interesting about optional is that's not only for parameters, it's also for the return type. So if I make a function called, let's just say find user age, we're going to pass in a name. And then the function's responsibility is to try and find that user's age if we have it, right? But you got to think about it. What happens if we pass in a name, but we can't find their age? In this case, we probably just want to return none because we can't find it, right? If you were to type this function as an integer for their age, this would not be possible because if it cannot find it and we want to pass none, this would go against the return type that we specified because this always has to be an integer, right? So it would complain. We can still run the code fine. Python doesn't enforce it, but it would complain. So to make it so that it doesn't exactly have to always be an integer, we can make it optional. So optional int. So now inside of our code here, we can do if name is equal to Billy, we return 25, otherwise return none. So if the name that was provided is found in our database, in this case it's just hard-coded to Billy, we're going to return their age. Otherwise, we're just going to return none because we have no data to return. So using optional on the return type is a way to make it so that the function doesn't always have to return that value. There is no value to return in this case. So with that in mind, let's see how we can use a function that returns an optional return type. So for example, we want to, let's just say, find user age and pass in Bob. So we know if we hover over this function definition, we know that this returns an int or none. That's what that means, or. So it's an int or none, okay? So this means that we don't know exactly what it is when we have it. So let me show you what I mean. So we'll say age is equal to find user age, Bob. Now we know because we wrote the code, it's going to be none. So we know how to handle it essentially. We know not to do stuff with it. But what if you're using a function where you don't know what the code is? So you don't know if it's going to be a number or none, right? Because it can return both. How would you handle that? In this case, you could check the type of the variable. So you could do if age, which effectively checks to see if the age is not none. Or you could also do if age is none. In this case, you're checking to see if it is none, then you can run some other code. So age unknown. Otherwise, age. So again, it's getting the age of Bob. It can return an integer or none as we know because it's optional, right? So with the variable, we're going to check to see if it's none. We're going to print the age unknown. If it's not none, then we'll print the actual value because we know it's an integer at this point. So let's run it. And boom, we get age unknown. Okay, so I really hope that makes sense. That's all I want to show you guys today for type hints within Python. So now you guys know how to make your code more structured and less prone to errors because you can type parameters and your return types. And also we learned how to use the optional type for our parameters and return types as well. So that way we can make it so that parameters are optional. And also we can make it so that the return value is optional itself too. So hopefully you guys found this video interesting and it made sense. I'll see you guys next time and peace.